Imagine the unthinkable. Overnight, the ceiling of your reality shatters. Perhaps a forgotten digital wallet from 2011 suddenly carries the weight of a skyscraper. Perhaps a side venture you started in a garage, a mere experiment in what if, is suddenly acquired for a sum that makes your pulse skip. Or perhaps through a twist of blood and fate, an inheritance falls into your lap like a ripe, heavy fruit. It feels divine, doesn't it? You feel chosen. You feel like the protagonist of a story that finally got its happy ending. But Niccolò Machiavelli, the man who peered deeper into the dark heart of power than any other, would lean across the table and whisper a warning. Fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, it is necessary to beat and ill-use her. He knew that fortune favors the bold, but she utterly abandons the unprepared. What you are holding right now, this winning ticket, this wire transfer, this sudden equity, it isn't just a blessing. If you are not careful, it is an execution, because sudden wealth, like sudden power, does not change the man. It exposes him. It is a biological amplifier. It takes your smallest flaws, your hidden addictions, your quietest insecurities, and it turns the volume up until the speakers blow. You think you've gained freedom. What you've actually gained is gravity. You have become a massive object in a world of scavengers, and the pull of your new world is about to drag every hungry soul you've ever known into your orbial. Statistically, the odds are against you. You've seen the headlines. The lottery winner who ends up working at a gas station 5 years later. The crypto millionaire whose life dissolves into a haze of vice and litigation. Studies of instant millionaires reveal a haunting law. The faster they rise, the faster they fall. More than half end up divorced, addicted, or bankrupt within a few short years. They lose friends, family, and peace of mind long before the bank account hits zero. Why? Because they mistake currency for character. They mistake wealth for wisdom. They forget that the art of maintaining power is 1,000 times more difficult than the act of acquiring it. Machiavelli saw this in the new. Princes, men who inherited kingdoms they didn't build. He wrote that he who becomes a prince through fortune alone will maintain his power, only so long as fortune favors him. If you did not cultivate the iron discipline required to create wealth, the fortune will erode faster than you can spend it. So before you open the champagne, before you tell a soul, you must learn the laws of the invisible kingdom, the aristocracy of silence. The world will urge you to broadcast your victory. We live in an age of digital exhibitionism, where success doesn't exist unless it's posted, liked, and envied. But Machiavelli would tell you that those who shout their victories are merely inviting conquest. The moment you expose your wealth, you expose your weakness. You become a target for litigation, for old friends with new problems, and for the slow, corrosive envy of your neighbors. This brings us to the first law of the prince, the law of stealth wealth. The wise become ghosts. They are the men who own the block, but live in the modest house at the end of the street. Their neighbors think they are doing well, but have no idea their influence stretches across continents. Take a lesson from history's most calculated climbers. Cesare Borgia, Machiavelli's primary study, built an empire through cunning and charm. But he learned the hard way that high visibility breeds high-level enemies. His fortune attracted more betrayal than admiration because it was loud. Compare that to the tragic tale of Jack Whittaker. In 2002, he won $315 million. He became a national celebrity. He paraded his generosity, handing out cash to strangers, buying houses for acquaintances, making himself the people's millionaire. He thought his visibility was his protection. He was wrong. The noise attracted the wolves. His wife left him. His friends became leeches. His granddaughter, drowned in a sea of unearned luxury, died of an overdose. Years later, Whittaker's confession echoed the sentiments of a fallen prince. I wish I'd torn up that ticket. If fortune gives you gold, act as though she hasn't. Not because humility is a moral virtue, but because secrecy is a survival strategy. In an age of total visibility, anonymity is the new armor. You might think you can manage the attention. You think you can filter the requests or control the narrative. But men are fickle and envious by nature. The moment they sense an advantage, they will test your boundaries. Even those closest to you will unconsciously begin to measure their lives against yours. And comparison breeds resentment faster than greed ever could. So how do you live unseen while moving boldly toward greater power? The answer is not just silence, it is structure. Concealment through structure. Machiavelli taught that a prince must build fortresses not of stone but of strategy. In your case, that fortress is privacy disguised as normalcy. People can smell fortune the way wolves smell blood. They notice the subtle shift in your confidence, the slight upgrade in your watch, the way you no longer look at the price of a menu. The world teaches you to display success. I am teaching you to disguise it. The first professional. The first person you tell about your fortune should not be your mother, your brother, or your best friend. It should be an attorney. Not just any attorney, a consigliere. Someone who speaks the language of trusts, foundations, and tax shields. Real wealth is never owned in one's own name. It is structured. When Machiavelli advised rulers to govern through intermediaries, he was describing a principle that remains the bedrock of the elite today. Power works best when it flows through layers that conceal its source. In modern terms, this means a trust that hides your name from public records, a holding company that shields your personal assets from liability, professional intermediaries who handle your affairs quietly while your public life remains mundane. Discretion is not paranoia. It is the exercise of power. The Rothschilds built one of the greatest fortunes in human history by staying invisible for centuries. Even when they were financing the wars of kings and the industrialization of nations, the family appeared modest and quiet. They let their influence speak louder than their lifestyle. That is the aristocracy of silence, the war on stagnation. Now, common wisdom suggests that once you have the money, you should quit your job. I disagree, but with a Machiavellian nuance. The point is not to keep a job, it is to keep momentum. Machiavelli wrote that idleness makes men soft. The greatest danger of sudden wealth isn't the spending, it's the stagnation. When the struggle for survival ends, the struggle for meaning begins. And if you are not prepared for that void, you will fill it with vice. Don't quit working. Quit only what drains your spirit or limits your autonomy. If your job is suffocating, leave it, not as an escape, but as a statement of sovereignty. But you must replace it immediately with a mission. Look at the titans of our age. Jeff Bezos did not scatter his energy once he became a billionaire. He fortified his fortress, Amazon, and expanded it methodically. Warren Buffett, despite having more money than most nations, still wakes up to work at an age when most have been retired for decades. They understand that focus is a form of power. A working man is a focused man. An idle man becomes prey to his own impulses. Your wealth should be used to buy your time back. But your time must be reinvested into your craft. Consistency is a weapon. The prince who divides his attention weakens his defenses. The internal rebellion. Once your identity is stabilized, you must secure your borders against invisible threats. Machiavelli warned rulers to extinguish internal dangers before external ones. He noted that a disease seen early is easy to cure, but if neglected, it becomes incurable. In the kingdom of your finances, debt is the internal rebellion. High-interest loans, credit cards, and lingering obligations are silent assassins. They might seem trivial when your bank account is overflowing, but compound interest moves faster than greed. A 20% interest rate can consume a fortune quicker than a thief in the night. Treat debt as a treasonous uprising within your walls. Crush it first. Pay off every high-interest obligation before you invest a single dime. This isn't just about math. It's about psychology. The 20% rule, eliminating a 20% interest debt, is a guaranteed 20% return on your money. No market in the world offers that with zero risk. The psychological piece. When you eliminate debt, you reclaim your sovereignty. You remove the subtle anxiety that gnaws at every decision. You silence the inner voice that tells you your wealth is temporary. Without the noise of debt, you start to think like a sovereign instead of a servant. You are no longer looking over your shoulder. You are looking forward. The war of emotions. You have built your fortress. You have slain your debts. Now the real war begins, and this one won't be fought on spreadsheets. This is the war of emotion. Machiavelli famously said, "Men are more ready to offend one who desires to be loved than one who wishes to be feared." In the world of wealth, the danger doesn't come from your enemies. You can see your enemies coming. The danger comes from your friends, your relatives, and your lovers. They will feel entitled to your fortune. They will tell themselves a story where you are the lucky one and they are the deserving ones. They will say, "You wouldn't be here without me," or "It's only fair that you help." Their logic is not rational. It is emotional. They don't mean you harm, but envy doesn't announce itself with a trumpet. It whispers. The fifth law, never lend money to friends or family. The moment you do, you transform a relationship into a transaction. You become the master, and they become the servant. If they fail to repay, resentment festers. If they succeed, they feel a sense of being owned. Either way, the relationship dies. Machiavelli warned princes never to give what they could not take back without hatred. The same applies to your capital. The solution is strategic compassion. If someone you truly care about is in a legitimate crisis, a medical emergency, a true tragedy, give freely, but do it with a condition. Tell them, this is a gift. I am giving it because I love you, but it is a one-time event. Do not ask again. This resets the power dynamic. You remain the generous benefactor, but you are not a submissive source of income. You preserve the relationship by drawing a line in the sand with a sword. Look at the tragedy of modern athletes. Men who rose from the harshest poverty only to lose everything. Not to bad stock picks, but to generosity. They bankroll entire zip codes, carry dozens of war dependents, and become prisoners of guilt. Mike Tyson earned over $300 million and declared bankruptcy. His fortune was drained by the thousands of hands reaching for a piece of his light. To preserve your fortune, you must sometimes appear cold. Steal without control breaks, but control without hardcore odds. Be the sun, provide warmth, but stay out of reach. The principle of the harvest. Once you've mastered your emotions, you must master your consumption. This is where more men fall than on any battlefield in history. The sixth law, never consume the principle. Only the yield. The rich who stay rich treat their money like farmland. They harvest the crop, but they never disturb the soil. The nouveau riche treat money like firewood. They burn through the foundation of their life just to feel warm for a night. Consider a family in California who won a massive jackpot. Within 24 months, they were forced to sell their mansion for half its value. Their wealth didn't vanish, it was eaten alive. They violated the golden rule of the prince. Your capital is your kingdom. You protect it with your life. You live off the borders, the interest, never the heart. The calculation of sovereignty. Calculate your freedom figure. What is the annual income you need to live exactly as you desire? $100,000, $500,000. Multiply that number by 25. That is your invisible throne. If you need $200,000 a year to be free, you must protect $5 million. The interest sustains your life. The capital ensures your legacy, even if you haven't reached that number yet. You must start thinking like a ruler today. Every financial decision is either an investment in your sovereignty or a surrender to your impulses. The goal isn't luxury. The goal is leverage. The seventh law, investing as statecraft. Now we reach the final stage. How do you make your fortune multiply without losing your peace? Machiavelli warned that a ruler must never rely solely on fortune's favor, but on systems that endure beyond his presence. Wealth without a system is just a countdown to zero. The seventh law, treat investing as governance. You are no longer a worker. You are the architect of your own state. Every dollar is a soldier. Every market is a battlefield. If you deploy your soldiers recklessly, you lose both your capital and your command. But if you organize them into divisions, you build an empire that can survive wars, recessions, and time itself. The 5 divisions of the prince's empire. The engine, equities. Allocate a significant portion to broad, diversified equities, total stock market index. Funds. This is your army that expands your borders. Over the long run, this domain averages close to 9 to 10% returns. It is the reflection of human ambition and compounding time. The diplomats, bonds. These are slow, steady, and boring. They preserve order. When the markets riot and the army is retreating, the diplomats maintain your capital. Machiavelli called this prudence, balancing aggression with defense. The patrimony, real estate. Anchoring your wealth in tangible property is ancient wisdom. Men sooner forget the death of their father than the loss of their patrimony. A well-chosen estate produces income and appreciation, grounding your empire in the physical world. The scouts, speculation. Machiavelli admired boldness but despised recklessness. Limit your moonshots, Bitcoin, startups, high-risk ventures, to 5 to 10% of your holdings. Treat them as scouts exploring new territories. If they find gold, wonderful. If they perish, the kingdom remains intact. The treasury, cash reserves. This is your peace fund. A prince with liquidity never panics. He waits for others to fall and buys their ruin at a discount.